Hi everyone, I'm Anisha. Welcome to my channel on astrology and tarot. For those of you who are new to my channel, I talk everything around tarot and astrology. Virgos, welcome to your annual 2022-23 horoscope forecast. This is another intense year ahead of us. We have what a lot of you must have also been reading about, those of you who follow astrology, is a year of a Pluto return. And the main theme for this year is global and political power restructuring that is happening. Similarly, the way that we have each individual has its birth chart, nations also have astrological birth charts, and Pluto return is aspecting specifically for the United States. And this is the time in nation's history when Pluto returns to the place in the cosmos that it occupied at the nation's inception. So it's about 27 degrees of Capricorn. However, since Pluto moves very slowly, it takes approximately about 248 years to complete one revolution around the zodiac. Its return is a process that some believe lasts about a decade or so. Personally, I feel that the Pluto return rumbling started around 2008. That's the time when Pluto entered Capricorn. And in the chart of the United States, which is cast for the signing of Declaration of Independence on 1776, the planet Pluto sits in what we call as the second house, or the house which we associate with money, our possessions, things that we hold of value, and even self-worth. So in other words, the Lord of underworld, of transformation, of life and death, and our shadow is going to be affecting all of us globally as well. Now, because it also sits in the sign of Capricorn, that is the second house, it doubles down the theme of worthiness for all of us. Capricorn is a sign of the sea goat, that is a mythological creature that can climb over any mountain, it can overcome any obstacle, and it can cross any sea in its quest to succeed. So often when we have planets in the second house in the sign of Capricorn, especially when one of those happen to be Pluto, we are dealing with the shadow of self who believes that it needs to work in order to prove its worth, and believing that it is not enough already, it finds itself in circumstance upon circumstance that demands that it pays a price for something that it already owns, unless something happens to break the cycle and raises our consciousness. Now let's talk a bit about Pluto, since there is a lot of trepidation around it, and since I do feel personally that this is something that we need to be introspecting, we need to be paying a little bit more heed to it as to what or who Pluto is. And most of the mythological stories that are associated with the planet Pluto are linked to the Greek god Hades. He is the lord of the underworld. He has a rather tight and an unyielding control over it, and Hades ruled the realm of those who were passing from this world into the next. His name and his myth are associated with power, with transformation, with resurrection, the shadow, the riches of the unseen, and with the life, death, and rebirth cycle. The most poignant Plutonian myth is one that he shares with Persephone. And Persephone was abducted by Hades to become his wife to help him rule his realm. And most accounts that describe her abduction and initiation into the underworld as an intense process, whereby she was stripped of the life that she had known before, everything that she had known before, in order to undergo a rebirth that enabled her to rise up and become one of the most powerful deities in the Greek mythology. Similarly, in astrology, the symbolism of Pluto in the birth chart is associated with similar processes of transformation, and Pluto transits often accompany periods in our life that seem to take us down in order for us to rise up, to stand up and stake our claim for our own true selves, and that seem to demand that we surrender every ounce of our power so that we might remember what it means to own and wield our power responsibly. A lot of deep and heavy stuff, but this aspect or this transit is not going away soon. So it would be worth our while to see as to where Pluto is aspecting for us in our charts, and where it is, which part of our house in a chart we need to be working for. So broadly, of course, I'm going to be looking at where is it that Pluto is aspecting for each zodiac sign. But for you, for your own personal chart, it would be worth your while to see whether there are other powerful transits, say of a hard Saturn or maybe of a Uranus that is transiting along with a Pluto as well. For you Virgos, the Plutonian transit is happening in your house of love, romance, creativity and children. So it can show struggles over power and control in love, in intimacy issues, getting obsessed with your hobbies and creativity, being overly serious at times and not being able to enjoy yourself, or even have difficulties with your children if you have. And this is, it's nothing to be really scared about or something that you can't manage, because again the underlying theme of Pluto is transformation. So with the fifth house being a creative house, one of the best things you can do with the Pluto transit over here is to focus on creative outlets, using your creative side to help you unwind. Make time to do things that you love, even if you think that they're silly or you're too old for it. If you have issues with love and intimacy, this is the time to work on them. Otherwise, you may have the recurring theme happen in your life. Pluto loves it if you work on the stuff that you're holding deep down inside and work to transform your approach and perspective. Be careful of becoming a little obsessed at times as well, or of attracting love interests, who may be a little obsessive, a little stalkery as well. This may be a clue that you have something that you need to work on. And if you have children, make sure that you're giving them enough room so that they do not feel that you're trying to control them. This transit can be more prominent in your life, especially if you have a hard Uranus or a hard Saturn aspect, because Saturn also is a teacher planet and Uranus is all about rebellion. So it can sort of create more turmoil than usual. We also have Venus, which is retrograde, and she's also retrograde in your house of love, romance and creativity, and she's retrograde till about end of Jan. So it could be a period where you choose to focus on your creative impulses and redefine what truly satisfies as opposed to what merely amuses you. And the appetite for joy can immerse you in flowing river when you discover only that you had your toes in your water before. So it's really a time to be get inspired. It's a time of surrender. It's a time to be experimenting for something new, either personally or artistically, so that you can begin to feel properly plugged in again. Who you want to be with, whom you want to connect with, these are the particular reflections of who you are and who you want to be with. As you resolve one, the other comes into the planar view and the way ahead is clear for you. Around April 30th, we have a solar eclipse that is there in your house of long distance travel. This is also the house of higher learning, and it's joining Uranus, which has been there for the last couple of years. And so eclipses in the year 2022 are going to be affecting your communication, and also they're going to be affecting your long distance travel and your higher learning. So it's a time wherein expanding of the mind, expanding of the higher self through education, through philosophy. And the new moon over here is going to encourage you to broaden your mind, to open up your mind, to explore new cultures, ways of living, perspectives. For some of you, if you have got used to working or doing or thinking things in a specific way, this is a wonderful opportunity wherein that you will be allowed to explore and really open and broaden your mind. For a lot of you, you could be feeling quite adventurous as well during this eclipse, and you would want to push the limits of your mind. Your spirituality also may undergo a change, and you may want to explore your beliefs thoroughly and represent them as much as possible. Long distance travel for this specific house is quite important. It really matters. So you may have opportunity to travel really far and wide, or maybe just have the desire to do so, or spend time with people from foreign places, or even trying out exotic cuisine. This house also rules law, so legal matters could also come into play, and not a best time to be making long-term plans, Virgos. So try not to do something that really, and this is specifically around the eclipse that I'm speaking, try not to do something that really requires you to pay close attention to details, and you could just be more interested in the broader scope of things right now. If you're a writer, it's a especially good time for your craft, and this house specifically helps you in publishing. May the 11th, we have Jupiter that is moving into your house of joint finances, resources, power struggles, intimacy, and this is also a house of transformation, and it carries on till about October 9th. And then on the May 16th, we have a lunar eclipse that is there in your house of communication. And you need to keep in mind, Virgos, that the eclipses last for 6 months. So whatever it is that is going on as far as whether it's division of assets, whether it's taxes, alimony, how it is that you are communicating, how it is that you are ensuring that your needs are met. You could be during this time between the beginning of May and October be dealing with a sibling, and perhaps it could be in certain cases, if a relationship had soured, this would be a time where you could be mending the fences, you could be reconnecting, you could be making your bond more deeper. You may also have to deal with something around your community which really bothers you, or something to improve the environment around you. Some of you could also have to deal with communication, so you may have a hard time getting your point across, or even understanding others, and people may come at you from left or right, and trying to get you to understand something, and it could be quite overwhelming for you. It can also be that during this time there could be some unexpected appointments, so make sure that you stay flexible, or you could just be overworked and exhausted. Life could seem a bit amped during this phase of the eclipse, and you could feel as if you're being pulled in a million different directions. Focus on what needs to be worked on now, and leave everything else for later. It's okay to let yourself off the hook, Virgos. At all the times, it's not important that you are the person who has to be crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. Your feelings and your words could be tied together at this time, so you could feel that you're almost in a tangled web, and it is a good time, since you shy away from confrontation, to let others know exactly how you're feeling without exploding. So don't wait for that moment, that till the time it's absolutely exhausted you and you just have to explode. Between September and November 2022, we have a square between Saturn and Uranus, and this is again aspecting between your house of expansion, broadening of the mind, and this is about higher learning, and it also speaks about your day-to-day chores. So you could feel polarized between these two areas. So these are lessons that you need to be thinking about. Whether it is maybe the mundaneness of every day. Maybe you are the one who has to keep the normalcy of the home going along while you are still trying to gather a higher education, or maybe you worry about letting the home front suffer while you want to learn something more. So try and draw a balance, and remind yourself not to be the sacrificial lamb. October 25th, we have a solar eclipse in your house of communications, sibling and community, and on November 8th we have a lunar eclipse that is again there in your house of learning. So again, a time for you to be starting a project, networking with people, collaboration, staying flexible, ensuring that maybe at times what is being said, less is more. Mars is going to be going retrograde for 2 months in Gemini towards end of October, and this happens in your house of work. And it can be that some of you encounter some career blockages during this time, and you could just feel quite frustrated about not advancing fast enough in your field. Good time to be revisiting some of the career goals that you may have set maybe a year back, and see how they're lining up for where you are right now. And there's no harm in asking yourself, Virgos, that what is it that is stopping you from asking for that promotion or that bonus, or maybe you need to be switching a job, maybe you need to be doing a career change now, and what is the next move that is there for you. I would say the important thing around all these eclipses this year is that not to let suppressed anger blow out. We will see end of the year 2022, Jupiter will move back into your house of relationships. This is both your work and your marriage, and it will go direct again into the house of joint finances. So Jupiter is going to be giving you a bit of a respite, and Jupiter is going to be encouraging you to look at your relationships very closely. Maybe something is coming to an end for some of you. Maybe there is a division of assets that is being done. Maybe there is a change of residence that is being done. Maybe partnership is being changed at your workplace. Maybe you change partnership, you move from another project, or maybe from another company, another corporation to another. Overall, I would say with the Plutonian, since the focus is around, the transit is around your love, romance and creativity, it would be worth your while to let the creative space channel whatever suppressed emotions that they are, and don't wait for the things to get so bad or so painful that you just explode by the end of it. Take those small windows and say what needs to be said. It doesn't have to be harsh, but since Pluto is also about self-worth, when you stand up for yourself, you're also honoring yourself, and you're also drawing a boundary, and Pluto loves that. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Virgos. I'll see you again soon, and thank you so much for watching.